Cheated on by my girlfriend with my best friend of 20 years. He ghosted me while making her his new live-in partner, and I lost both the love of my life and my closest friend. When the truth came out, I discovered years of shocking lies, hidden exes, and more manipulation than I could have ever imagined. I only just came across this subreddit, so I figured it's time to unload my story here. Be warned, it's a long one, but it's been bottled up for way too long. I'm Oliver, 34 men. My best friend is Max, 34 men, and my girlfriend was Natalie, 27F. Whenever anyone asks how I knew the details, the answer is always, mutual friends or family clued me in after everything hit the fan. Max and I have known each other since high school homeroom. From day one, we became like brothers, not a single secret between us. Our love lives, mistakes, wins, and epic fails, we knew everything about each other, and we'd always been open about it. Still, even though he was my ride or die, I never wanted any of my female friends to date Max. His track record was a disaster. 4 relationships, 2 that ended with him getting cheated on, and 1 ex was sleeping with multiple guys at once. Another who two-tined him for a whole year. And then his 3rd girlfriend, who he cheated on and dumped to be with his 4th. On top of all that, Max regularly hired escorts. His mother is loaded, so he's never had to work. She just wires him cash. Me, by comparison, a late bloomer. I was a virgin before this relationship. Never had much luck with women. Now to how I met Natalie. We matched on an app on January 13th, 2019. From meeting her until late 2020, things were honestly going well. We traveled, hung out, spent many evenings with Max and his girlfriend at the time. They'd been together for about 4 years back then. When the pandemic hit, Max's girlfriend broke it off and moved back to China. So from then on, it was usually just the 3 of us hanging out together. Gaming, movie nights, just chilling at home. When restaurants finally reopened, we started eating out again. Sometimes, Max and Natalie would go for dinner alone. I thought nothing of it, since she lived close to his favorite places. Their shared dinners were happening more and more, and Natalie would be out later and later. Still, I never questioned it. Max was my closest friend, and Natalie would always send me photos of what they were eating, reminding me that she was with him. January 2021, I started helping Natalie's family renovate their new home. I was back at work 2 days a week. The other 5, I'd help with the house. End of March, I broke my wrist tossing out old wooden boards. After surgery, Natalie's birthday was coming up, April 29th. I planned us a trip for her big day and the next day. On April 30th, when we got home, Max was waiting to give her a cake and presented her with a custom-engraved iPad. She was absolutely over the moon about it. 1 week later, she called and broke up with me. We don't have a future. You aren't earning enough, you're lazy, get a second job. I want the freedom Max has to play games all day. You don't have that luxury. She also mentioned I was 2 minutes late wishing her happy birthday, not the first that day, and wouldn't tell me who beat me to it. Spoiler, it was Max. A couple weeks after the breakup, I called Max to share what happened. Up until then, he didn't know anything about my issues with Natalie. I never shared those things with him. Apparently, a few days ago, he'd already invited her to dinner, but she didn't say anything about your breakup, he claimed. But he reminded me, I'm always here for you. So I started leaning on him, calling and hanging out daily, sometimes for hours. 1 week later, Natalie called, wanting to get back together. I said yes. Everything seemed okay. We talked about saving up to move in together the next year. Even planned a 3-day group vacation that would also include Max. When I told Max about it, he advised, think twice before moving in. She left you when you broke your wrist. That's a huge red flag. You've been through hell. She won't change. Can you really imagine a lifetime together? The advice was rational, and I took it to heart. From late May to June, I started physical therapy for my wrist. There were some cute women there, and I told Max about them. Because of how cruelly Natalie had dumped me, I found myself doubting if I was even in the right relationship. I confessed these doubts to Max, including my curiosity about maybe pursuing someone from therapy instead. His advice, just keep Natalie in the dark, ask out the therapy women, and if things work out, make a switch. Natalie could be your backup girl. The idea disgusted me. I cried for days, imagining how much it would crush Natalie to be betrayed that way. I couldn't do it. So in late June, I decided to work things out with myself and my relationship. I started reading a bunch of articles on love, breakups, and whether a relationship is really worth it. One day, Natalie saw all the open tabs and got suspicious. It spiraled into a fight, with her accusing me of having feelings for someone else. She told me a guy had asked her out once, but she said no because she's committed. She dropped from our planned group trip with Max. When we argued, I told her point blank, I do have doubts, but I want to work things out because 3 years is worth at least that much effort. We made up and agreed to go on the trip after all. End of June, Max got a new place and asked for my help setting up furniture, TVs, a table and bed for his new bachelor pad since he decided to put himself back on the dating market. He was also hitting the gym and dropping weight fast, so I helped him and told him, no big deal, you've been there for me throughout my darkest times. He swore he'd never said anything to Natalie about what I'd shared. End of June, I realized this was actually the last time I could ever reach him like before. He went totally AWOL after that. Turns out, he was having dinner with Natalie the night he stopped picking up and said he didn't answer because it would have made things awkward for her with me calling. Next contact wasn't until the trip, July 9th. He drove all of us. Normally, I'd be in the front with Max, but for the long drive, Natalie insisted on the passenger seat, blaming car sickness. During the trip, Max paid for everything. Tickets, meals, you name it. Natalie and Max spent the whole vacation glued to each other, hitting arcades, gambling, vanishing from sight together. I just hung back with the rest of our friends. Some of them told me they had even taken photos, gossiping about whose girlfriend was whose. That whole trip, Natalie and I didn't have sex. On the way home, I was the last dropped off, just me and Max in the car. He talked about knowing all the fun spots because he'd visited them last week with an ex-girlfriend. What I didn't realize was he'd originally booked this trip for himself and Natalie, but I ruined his plans by making up with her. July ended, and my birthday, the 25th, rolled around. The week before, Natalie became cold and distant, barely texting back, hours or days between responses, which was not her norm. She stayed at my place the night before my birthday, but at midnight only managed a half-hearted happy birthday. She avoided sex until finally relenting, our last time together. The day of my birthday, she was totally checked out, treated me to food and a present, but left halfway through, saying she had work. The following week was me just going through the motions, barely texting or FaceTiming. On July 30th, after no contact all day, I called her and we argued. We never outright said we were breaking up, but it was ugly. I'd had enough. I got petty, asking her why she didn't get me a card and cake. Her excuse, she was scared to write on the card or make a cake because it might be the last wish I'd ever make with her. I snapped and told her I didn't care about her, and she hung up. Didn't speak for 2 weeks. Mid-August, she messaged that her dad would be coming to drop off my things. He asked me to work things out with her, that he wants us together. I just nodded, too exhausted to explain. August 28th, D-Day. It's been 6 weeks since the vacation and 2 months since I'd spoken to Max aside from the trip. I'd been trying to reach him, but he always ghosted me. Then a mutual friend, let's call him Lucas, called me at work. Max had called him that morning to let him know Natalie had moved in with him, and they were now officially dating. And please don't tell Oliver. Instead, Lucas hung up and immediately called me. I felt like I'd been gutted. That same night, Max finally called me. I was barely coherent. He just dived in. Hey, how have we been? If you hadn't figured it out yet, Natalie and I are together now. It just happened. I had no choice. I felt suicidal when I wasn't with her. Being with her made me happy. She doesn't want to see or speak to you. You'll always be my best friend, though. I questioned everything. Why did he buy her that engraved iPad? And how did he know her favorite color and birthday? Just wanted to make her happy, he said. What about the dinners? He confessed that because Natalie was treating me badly, he saw an opportunity and took his shot. He was stunned she agreed to go out with him. But don't worry, we never touched or kissed before you officially broke up. I called it what it was, emotional cheating. He basically shrugged. If that's how you see it, sorry. I asked, if you could do it all over again, would you do this to me? Max, absolutely. She's my soulmate, and I'd be shocked if we didn't end up married. She was a bad match with you, but with me, she's perfect. All the red flags I'd ever shared about Natalie, he relished them. I actually like those red flags. They make things more exciting. When I warned, if she cheated on me, she'll cheat on you, he replied, maybe, but I'll risk it. I'm totally okay giving her a one-time cheat pass. I reminded him about his own experiences of infidelity, being cheated on by multiple partners. Why do this to your brother? He basically blew it off. You'll get over it. Weren't you going to ask out that girl from therapy? There's plenty of fish in the sea. We're young. I even asked about the sex. It's okay. You'll find better. Didn't he feel weird being intimate with the same woman as his best friend? He said, if you have sex with enough women, you just stop caring. I explained that Natalie and I never technically broke up, just fought. Didn't know that, he said. Natalie called him a couple days later, and that was that. She's been living with me ever since, probably 70% of the time now. She's my live-in girlfriend. To make things even more heart-wrenching, my mother, who's had stage 4 lung cancer for 5 years, had just been told there's nothing more that can be done. She's now in hospice care. I told Max if he wanted to visit her one last time. He refused. My last question, am I still your best friend? His answer, of course, it's not even close. I pointed out, you weren't there for me during my darkest time. Turns out, you're the one behind it all. He apologized for how I felt, said he'd lay low for 6 to 12 months, and recommended I ignore what anyone says about cutting him out, because he'll always care. Then made it clear, only reach out if it's about splitting Joyt's stuff with Natalie. Otherwise, don't contact him. In fact, if I want to reach Natalie at all, I now have to go through Max first. I checked and found Natalie had blocked me on every platform. No closure. I emailed her apologizing for how cold and difficult I'd been, and even said they had my blessing to date if that's what she really wanted. If she'd just have one last conversation with me for closure. She never replied. Her dad said he'd talk to me after speaking with her, never did. I felt totally hollowed out, lost my girlfriend of 3 years who I was thinking of proposing to, and my best friend of 20 years. All the while, I saw them online together, smiling, vacationing, living it up, while my world fell apart and my mother's dying. I started having nightmares, imagining them laughing and being together in the bed I helped assemble. Chest pains, insomnia, the works. Why did Max do this? Why rip my life apart, take my first real love? This was my first ever relationship, and he stole it. Update. After researching, I firmly believe my ex-best friend is a sociopath narcissist, and my ex-girlfriend is narcissistic too. Textbook dark triad stuff. In some twisted way, I'm grateful they revealed their true colors and cut themselves out of my life. I want nothing to do with either ever again. But wait, it gets wilder. Sorry for posting almost a year later. But I moved on so much that Max and Natalie faded from my mind. This rabbit hole goes deep, believe me. Let's set up a few aliases. Snake equals Max, ex-best friend, his exes. A, B, C, D, Natalie equals my ex-girlfriend. Ben equals Lucas, who reported the cheating. After D-Day, August 28, 2021, I got back on dating apps. December 6th, matched with Max's ex C. Remember, Max had overlapped dating C and D back in the day. I'd only met C once, but she was unmistakable. I learned back then that while Max dated C, he started hanging out with D, whom I had my eye on. Even though he knew I liked D, Max swooped in anyway, still with C for about a month before switching to D. C had never let go. She stalked Max for years, still madly in love, constantly trying to reconnect. When we matched, she instantly asked, "Have you heard from Max? What's he up to?" I braced myself, but figured she deserved the truth about what kind of guy he really is. So we met up for lunch to compare stories. C told me she and Max broke up about a month ago. Their last trip together, early July. Meaning, Max never actually broke up with C. For 4 years, he was living a double life, splitting weeks between C's place and D's place. He'd kept 2 worlds separate, hung with college buddies when with C, and us when with D. Just a couple months ago, Max dumped C, moved into a new place, to set up house with Natalie. His name was still on C's lease. He'd pop in whenever and still had keys. The kicker, he took C on a trip to the same spot as the group journey he planned with Natalie. Evidently, he repeats vacations for every woman. He'd done Disney World/Universal Studios with C, D, and Natalie, back to back. We parted ways after matching notes, both of us dumbfounded. Next day, December 8th, Max randomly turned up at C's apartment. She'd thrown his things out the night before, so he got mad and called Lucas to try to cover his tracks. C handled it, changed the locks, got his name off the lease. Later, she and I went to Max's father's place to tell him everything his son had done. The dad hadn't seen us in years, but was thrilled until we spilled the news. Not only is C dumped, but Max moved my ex in and currently lives with her. The poor man was destroyed, openly lamenting that he'd failed as a father, raised a disgrace to the family. Here's what we learned. Max was never rich. His dad is a retired 74-year-old on Social Security. sending Max $1,000 a month toward $3,500 rent. C paid the rest. Max's mother isn't wealthy either, but probably pitched in. Max had maxed out over 10 credit cards, was $100,000 in debt, and had never worked, not once since finishing an Ivy League degree in 2017, claimed all jobs were beneath him. So much for being rich and playing games all day. C wanted to warn Natalie, asked for her contact info, said she thought Natalie was just his next victim. So I gave it, and C forwarded all the evidence, lease details, texts, late-night phone logs, showing Max trying to get back with C. There were messages about his fantasy of someday living in a mansion with all 5 exes, A, B, C, D, E, as one big harem family, a true sociopath. Natalie, instead of thanking C, called her up to badmouth me, telling her to stop seeing me, that I was a bad person. Apparently, Max assured Natalie that he just had to check in on C to help her get over the breakup. He told Natalie he stays close with all his exes, dinners, gifts, constant texts, claimed every ex wanted him back. Other dirt. Max hit on the wife of Ben's Lucas's best friend while still with D, kept nudes of all his exes on an encrypted drive, which he occasionally browsed to admire the female form in its prime. He regularly used escorts, even tried to get me to lose my virginity at a brothel for my 30th birthday. I refused. C's birthday was also in April, like Natalie's. Max called C to wish her well, while Natalie called C to try and have her wrap up unfinished business with me. Now, both Max and Natalie still call C occasionally. The absurdity of it all just cracks me up now. Today, I've honestly reached absolute indifference. If they break up, cool. If they stick together, better. They won't wreck anyone else. Everyone told me time would heal, and they were right. I simply stopped caring, and I'm much happier. I can't promise I wouldn't snap if I saw Max on the street, but so far, that hasn't happened. From 31-year-old virgin to being thrown headfirst into betrayal and heartbreak in a 2.5-year period, there's probably never been a more thorough crash course in love, lies, sociopaths, and narcissists. In the end, no marriage, no kids, no STDs, no lost money, just the knowledge and freedom that 2 toxic people are out of my life for good. I've read dozens of books on relationships, psychology, and watched every video under the sun. I'm just wiser for it. Almost forgot an ultra-weird detail. During the pandemic, when Animal Crossing New Horizons came out, Natalie and I lived together, and Max played too. We teased Max for creating a female avatar with long black hair, but found out later the reason his island was a 5-star resort. It was C who played on his Switch for him. Whenever we asked Max to co-op or visit his island, he'd suddenly hand the console to C and let her play as him. I found this detail extremely unsettling. It's just another example of how calculated and manipulative Max actually is. That's it for this story. The story is an insight into how deeply betrayal can cut, especially from those you trust most, and how healing really is possible once toxic people are gone. The truth always finds its way out, no matter how elaborate the lies. I've got a question for you. Have you ever had a friend or partner betray you in a way that made you realize how blind you'd been to red flags? What happened? And do you think people like that ever actually change? Let's talk in the comments.